Hello everyone, welcome to another Stargate lore video, and today we're going to be talking about the Tollan.
Do people practice being vague?
History. So the Tollan kind of have two origin stories. There's one in the show and one in a novel called City of the Gods. In the show, it's generally believed that they are one of the groups of humans who were transported throughout the galaxy by the Goa'uld as slaves, who would then later lead a rebellion and take the world for themselves. In City of the Gods, it's stated that the Tollan are one of the civilizations shuttled by the looooonnng, or the giant ghost aliens in their crystal skull network. These guys also helped develop many Central American civilizations, which means the Tollans are descendant from Native Americans.
What?
Is it weird it's not the first time Stargate has done something like this?
But you said we are Aztec. What?
Either way, the Tollan would go on to develop an advanced technological society on their homeworld, Tollan. However, they weren't the only humans in their solar system. Their neighbors, the Setarians, were roughly at the same technological progress that Earth was. The Tollan made contact and gave them a device to produce unlimited energy. But the Setarians used it to make destructive weapons, which resulted in them annihilating themselves in a war. The shockwave created by these weapons shifted Tollan out of its orbit, making the planet unstable, forcing the Tollan to leave their planet for a new one, Tollana, a world with no Stargate. A team was sent back to bury the Stargate, but they were rendered unconscious. At that moment, SG-1 came through and rescued them, though the Tollan were not very thankful for the rescue, as they viewed the Tari as primitives and rejected any offer of help. The US government did plan on interrogating the Tollan to learn more about their technology, but Dr. Daniel Jackson, with the help of one of the Tollan, Olmec, sent a message through to the Nox, and the Nox came and took the Tollan to their homeworld, and later helping them return to Tollana. The next event we know about them is when two attack motherships entered Tollan space in pursuit of a death glider. The Tollan's ion cannon defense system destroyed the motherships and the glider was brought down. The glider contained the human Skara, who at the time was a host of the Goa'uld Chlorel. He pleaded for the Tollan to remove the Goa'uld, but they held a triad, or trial, to determine who had ownership rights over the body. They called SG-1 to represent Sakara, the Nox to represent a neutral party, and the Goa'uld to represent Chlorel. The Tollan allowed the Goa'uld and their Jaffa to roam around during the triad. While they did this, they painted the Tollan ion cannon so they could destroy them and conquer the Tollan. SG-1 tried to warn the Tollan the Goa'uld were up to something, but ignored them due to their overconfidence. When Sakara won the triad, the Goa'uld launched their attack, though they probably would have done this regardless of the outcome. The Goa'uld had destroyed all of the cannons, leaving the planet defenseless, but Teal'c had asked the Nox Laya to hide one of the ion cannons, saving the day. A minor event they were involved in was a joint effort between them, the Asgards, and the Tari to end a rogue NID operation that was stealing technology from other advanced races. The NID being a civilian branch of the US government who believed they needed to do whatever it took to get advanced alien technology, no matter the cost. The Tollan's main contribution to this was going along with an act that led Jack being kicked out of SG-1 for stealing Tollan technology. This way he could be recruited into the operation and then give their location to the Asgard, who would then take the technology back. Sadly, the Tollan would meet their end in 2001, 1 year after the Triad, when a Goa'uld mothership entered orbit of their planet, and their ion cannons couldn't penetrate the shields. Facing destruction, the Kira accepted the Goa'uld demands to make phase-shifting bombs that could pass through anything. Olmec opposed the collaboration, but in order to keep him silent, the Kira had him killed. They attempted to make a trade deal with SG-1, giving them ion cannons in exchange for trinium, the main metal used in the construction of their technology. However, due to the efforts of a Tollan named Narm and SG-1, they discovered what the metal was going to be used for and the current deal with the Goa'uld. The emissary of the Goa'uld, Tanith, who was working for the outcast system Lord Anubis at the time, ordered that the Tollan send one of the bombs through the Stargate to Earth. Thankfully, the bombs were destroyed, but as a result, the Goa'uld launched an attack on Tollana. SG-1 managed to escape, but the Tollan were wiped out. Though in a rulebook, Living Gods, Stargate System Lords for the Stargate SG-1 role-playing game, the Tollan did have a colony, Pelor, that survived the destruction of Tollana, Now, normally I don't like adding things that are not specifically stated in the show, but honestly, this makes sense. The Tollan were an advanced spacefaring civilization. It makes sense they would have other worlds under their control. Even Earth had the Alpha Site, a fallback position to go to in case Earth was lost. It makes sense that an advanced civilization might have something similar, or just a straight up colony. Government. In place of biology for this episode, since the Tollan are virtually the same as humans from Earth, we're going to talk about the Tollan government, as we do know a few things about it. We don't know the official name of the government, but the highest governing body was called the Cura, with the head of state being the High Chancellor. They were a democratically elected body who were in charge of deciding the future of the Tollan, though there were limits to their power. For example, they were not allowed to talk directly with the looooonnng, though they may sometimes. Otherwise, how did they contact them for the Triad? My best guess is this was done by another branch of the Tollan government, which we do know there are, as if there is an official protest to Tollan policy, it is filled with every level of every branch of the government. We just don't know what those other branches are. The only other thing I can think to mention for the government is this line here.
If you were my subject, I would be forced to discipline you. However, you are not one of my subjects.
Now, usually free democratic societies don't really refer to their people as subjects. That's more something you see in monarchies. I don't know if they just meant to use citizen and not subject, but those two words are not synonymous with one another. And I really do hope this is just a misuse of the word, because otherwise it has some very dark implications about the Tollan. And that might not be too far off, as while I said the Cura is a democratic elected body, I only know that because the fandom page said so. If you were to watch the show, you would never get an indication this is a democratic society. Society. Tollan society as a whole seems rather peaceful, similar to the Nox. However, unlike the Nox, if attacked, the Tollan will defend themselves. Their rule about sharing technology with less advanced races did lead them to develop borderline xenophobic attitudes when it came to the less advanced races. Their technology also led them to develop a sense of overconfidence and superiority, as they would feel their technology would always save them. They were also extremely isolationist. We also know back when they believed in the supernatural, when someone was near death, a beautiful female being called a Shermua may appear and take that person to her dwelling place in the stars. An interesting note is that the Tollan didn't have any major crimes. In fact, Olmec was the first murder among the Tollan in a very long time. They also believe that governments concealing or tampering with records is a worse crime than murder.
Goddamn, man, I would love to live in your world for about 10 minutes.
Technology. The Tollan were very advanced technologically. They may have been one of the, if not the most technologically advanced race of humans in the Milky Way galaxy. Their most famous technological achievement had to be their ion cannons, which allowed them a near-perfect defense system of their planet, being able to destroy a Goa'uld mothership in one shot. Some of their other technological achievements include a device that deactivated all known forms of weaponry, leaving their own intact, emotion reading technology, a phase-shifting device that let them walk through solid matter, and small implants in the body that monitor the carrier's health. If there was a medical emergency, the implant would notify emergency services. As a general rule of thumb, Tollan technology had no wires, moving parts, or circuitry. Sam even stated that even if Earth got their hands on an ion cannon, they'd never be able to reverse engineer it. Most of their technology was composed of an alloy known as trinium. They also, with the help of the Nox, built a new Stargate, and yes, I know I've brought this up before and will probably do so in the future, because I think it's that big of a deal. We've never seen any other race build something even close to the Stargates themselves, except maybe the Ori with their Supergates, but again, the Ori are also kind of ancient, so I think that's cheating. Even the other members of the Four Great Race Alliance, the Furlings and the Asgard, seem to have never built a Stargate. We have no real example of the Furlings building a Stargate, and the Asgard seem to have a Milky Way Stargate in their galaxy. Again, I think it's just that big of a deal. We also know the Tollan have spaceships, but we don't really know anything about them, like how they look or what armaments they have. But given the fact that it's constantly stated that the ion cannons are the only defense system for Tollan, the spaceships either have very limited or non-existent weapon systems. Relations with other races. The Tollan seem to have a great relationship with the Nox, as the Nox not only helped return a team to Tollan, sent a representative to the Triad, and helped the Tollan build a Stargate. I'd imagine this is due to both races being pacifistic to varying degrees and having strict rules about dealing with less advanced races. I actually have a theory as to why the Nox seem to work so closely with the Tollan, but I'll save that for another video. We also know they have an alliance with the Tok'ra and have some kind of contact with the Asgard. As for Earth itself, they would retain friendly-ish relations. The main problem between the two is that they would refuse to give Earth any technology, which is what Earth wanted in order to protect themselves from the looooonnng. The Tollan's point of view is understandable. They didn't want to repeat the mistake they made with the Ceterans. At the same time, Earth had come to their aid once or twice, and all they wanted was a way to protect their world from a very real and ever-present threat. One can't blame them for being angry that their ally would constantly refuse to help them. This strain would be present between the two right up until the Tollan extinction. As for the looooonnng, the Tollan never really declared them their enemies, and they would even extend diplomatic courtesy to those who agreed to come to the planet peacefully, but destroyed those who wouldn't. Though given that the looooonnng had wiped out the Tollan, I'd imagine if there are any survivors, they might have learned their lesson. And that was the Tollan. Definitely one of the more popular factions in Stargate, and just the reason I like them is not only them themselves, but more the meta perspective you get on pacifism. That being why pacifism is a good thing, too much of it can be a problem, because the argument can be made that if the Tollan had been more proactive in fighting the looooonnng and making alliances with other races, they might not have been wiped out. Hey everyone, so yeah, it's kind of been a while since the last episode. Sorry about that. My university is essentially speedrunning us to college to get us out by Thanksgiving, which unfortunately means I have almost zero downtime. Just as an example, I just took a physics exam, and my next one is in 2 weeks. I'm also in the process of switching my major, which adds a lot of other drama I have to deal with, and I'm just not sure when the next video is going to be made. Hopefully sometime before Thanksgiving, but no promises. I'm also not sure if I want the video to be the Ashen versus Tollan thing, or if I should just make a general lore video and then circle back to that right after that. I kind of need your guys' opinion on that. Besides that, yeah, I don't really have anything to say now. I just wanted to say why I've kind of been non-posting video thing. I'm very tired.